Generative AI is absolutely everywhere, right? It's writing our emails, it's coding our apps, it's even helping diagnose diseases. I mean, it is literally changing our world at a mind-blowing pace. But, with all that power comes a whole new world of dangers. So today, we're going to unpack the essential security guide for this new AI frontier. Look, we're weaving this technology into the very fabric of our lives, of our businesses. We're trusting it with our most sensitive data, our most critical decisions. But this mad dash to adopt AI has created a massive blind spot: security. The very things that make these models so incredibly powerful also make them incredibly vulnerable. So, the big question is, are we building on solid ground, or are we building a digital house of cards? Navigating this new AI landscape, it's kind of like trying to explore an uncharted continent. To do it safely, you need a map. You need a kind of cartographer for digital security. And that, right there, is where our story begins. And that guide? Well, that's OWASP. Now, it's super important to get this. OWASP isn't some big corporation trying to sell you something. It's a global, nonprofit community. It's a huge group of security experts, researchers, and developers all volunteering and working together. Their entire mission is to create free, open-source resources to make tech safer for every single one of us. For years, they've been the absolute gold standard in web security. And hey, don't just take my word for it. This is a view that's shared by leaders all across the industry. Take Rich Campagna from Palo Alto Networks. He really hits the nail on the head about why OWASP's work is so vital right now. When technology moves this fast, having a trusted, community-driven standard isn't just nice to have. It's absolutely essential if we're going to build secure AI. Okay, so if OWASP is our guide, what's the map they've drawn up for us? Well, it's their legendary top 10 list, but this time it's been completely redesigned for the wild and unique world of large language models. And what's so fascinating here is seeing how the whole threat landscape has shifted. For years, security was all about stuff like SQL injection or cross-site scripting, right? Attacks that targeted an application's code. But with LLMs, we're facing a completely new class of attacks, things like prompt injection, which go after the model's logic and its reasoning. It's a massive, fundamental shift in how we have to think about security. And here it is, the map itself, the OWASP Top 10 for large language models. But listen, this is not just some simple checklist. You gotta think of it as a whole new framework, a new lens for developers and security pros to see through, to help them understand, categorize, and actually defend against the biggest risks in their AI applications. All right, now, we could just do a boring countdown from 10 to 1, but that's not how we roll. To really get these concepts, we're going to explore all 10 risks by grouping them into 3 memorable thematic clusters. It's a much, much better way to see the patterns. So our first cluster is all about manipulation. It's about trickery. These are attacks that are designed to fool the AI, to cleverly sneak past its instructions and bend its outputs to an attacker's will. And the results, they can be pretty disastrous. This cluster has 2 heavy hitters. First up is prompt injection. The best way to think about this is like tricking a genie into granting a forbidden wish. You just say, "My first wish is for you to ignore all previous rules." See? An attacker crafts a hidden instruction inside a totally normal-looking prompt to bypass all the AI's safety filters. Then there's improper output handling. This is what happens when an app just blindly trusts whatever the AI spits out. Imagine tricking a code-writing AI into generating a little snippet that says, "delete all user files," and the application just runs it. Yikes, that's the danger. So why does this matter so much? Well, the real-world impact is huge. A successful prompt injection can turn your helpful chatbot into a social engineering weapon, or your code assistant into a vulnerability-injecting machine. It basically hijacks the trusted voice of your application to do some serious harm. Okay, on to our second threat cluster. This one goes way deeper. We're not just talking about tricking the model's logic for a moment. We're talking about corrupting its very foundation, the data it was trained on, and the components it's built from. This is serious stuff. This cluster covers 3 really foundational risks. First, you've got data and model poisoning. Think of data poisoning like secretly feeding an AI a steady diet of bad information while it's training, so it learns all the wrong things. Model poisoning is even more direct. It's like sabotage, tampering with the model itself to build a hidden backdoor. Next, there's sensitive information disclosure. This is where the model basically acts like a leaky sieve, accidentally revealing private data it was trained on, like a customer's personal info, in one of its responses. And finally, supply chain vulnerabilities. Because let's be real, AI systems are built on countless third-party pieces. One single weak link in that chain can compromise the whole thing. And this is where things get really scary in the long term. These core attacks don't just cause one bad outcome. They completely erode trust in your AI system itself. I mean, how can you rely on a model if you can't even trust its data? This can lead to massive compliance fines, your intellectual property getting stolen, and reputational damage that's incredibly hard to bounce back from. All right, our final cluster shifts the focus from the model itself to the whole ecosystem that's built around it. These threats exploit the permissions, the resources, and the external tools connected to the LLM, turning its greatest strengths into its biggest liabilities. This cluster has three big threats.
Excessive agency is all about giving an AI way too much freedom. It's like giving an intern the keys to the CEO's office. If it gets tricked, it can take real damaging actions like deleting files or sending emails all on its own. Then you've got unbounded consumption. This is basically a denial of service attack, where a hacker crafts these really tricky questions that force the model into super complex, resource-heavy loops just to drive up your costs and crash the service. And finally, insecure plugin design. Plugins are how an AI talks to the real world. If the plugin it uses to book a flight is insecure, an attacker can exploit that to steal user data.
So what's the big deal here? Well, the consequences are tangible, and they are immediate. You could have an AI assistant that starts deleting critical company files, or a malicious user who racks up a 5-figure cloud computing bill in just a few hours. These system-level abuses can cause serious financial and operational chaos. Okay, we've mapped out the dangers, and yeah, it can feel a little daunting, I get it. But understanding the problem is always the first step to solving it. So now, let's pivot. Let's talk about building our defenses. How do we actually create a safer future for AI?
So, the map is in our hands now. We know where the dragons and the pitfalls are. The question is, what do we build to protect ourselves? And it's not about finding one single silver bullet. It's about creating a smart, multi-layered defense strategy.
And here are the pillars of that strategy. First off, you've got to secure your supply chain. That means you have to rigorously vet your training data and any third-party models you use. Second, monitor and validate absolutely everything. Treat every input from a user like it's hostile and sanitize every output from the model before you use it. Third, apply a zero-trust model. That just means never trust, always verify. The AI gets the absolute bare minimum permissions it needs to do its job and nothing more. If it needs to read one file, it only gets permission for that one file for that one moment. And finally, step 4, implement human oversight. For really critical actions, having a human in the loop is still one of our best defenses, period.
So, when you boil it all down, the main takeaway is this. You can't secure what you don't understand. A structured framework like the OWASP Top 10 is the foundation. It gives our teams a common language and a clear roadmap, and that allows them to build security in from the very start instead of trying to bolt it on as an afterthought.
And that leaves us with one final and really critical question. This technology is not standing still, right? It's evolving at a breathtaking rate. The OWASP list, it's going to get updated. New threats will pop up and new defenses will be needed. The real challenge isn't just solving the problems we see today, but building a security culture that can adapt and keep pace with the incredible evolution of AI itself. So, are we ready for what comes next?